A family with a remarkable mother and her miracle child, along with a young college student, transformed my perception of the medical world. My interviews with them marked a turning point in my academic journey. Before I share the insightful conversations I had with the mother, Miss Brandy, and her child, Mr. Trey, along with the young college student, Miss Kaylee, I have some engaging questions to ask you. Raise your hand if you have a family member or close relative diagnosed with the genetic disorder. Keep your hands up if you are familiar with the concept of genetic disorders. To explain it in simple terms, the molecular gene is a sequence of nucleotides in DNA that is transcribed to produce a functional RNA and achieve their effects by directing the synthesis of proteins. The DNA molecule is divided into or organized into much larger bodies called chromosomes. Using this definition, do we have agreement on the number of protein-coding genes? Surprisingly, the answer is no. Studies in 2004 estimated around 24,000. And by 2000, researchers had linked about 1,000 genes to single gene inherited diseases. This demonstrates that much of the genome's potential role in diseases remains undiscovered. One of them is the process, or craniofacial duplication, which I will discuss briefly later. Despite the heavy financial burden on families, these diseases remain under-researched, leaving many questions unanswered and treatment options limited. The Research Institute of McGill University Health Center states that rare diseases are often overlooked, leading to misdiagnoses and suboptimal treatments, leaving patients and families in an emotionally draining diagnostic odyssey. When we talk about diseases, the conversation often revolves around the most common ones, those that affect millions and receive the bulk of research funding. But beneath the surface is a hidden world of rare diseases. These conditions affect fewer people individually, yet collectively they affect hundreds. The reason that they remain in the shadows is not just number. It is the availability heuristic, a cognitive bias that makes us focus on what is memorable and visible, while neglecting what is rare and unseen. Let's do an activity. I'm going to say the name of a disease, and if you have heard of it, raise your hand. Is that clear? Diabetes. Great. Kidney failure. Parkinson's disease. Cancer. Great. Now keep your hands up if you have heard of childhood dementia. Childhood dementia. Lafora disease. What about the process? Well, this is the reality of rare diseases. If we don't know they exist, we don't talk about them. And if we don't talk about them, they do not receive funding. Right now, the funding landscape is disproportionately tilted toward the most common diseases, including diabetes, cancer, Parkinson's, and chronic kidney failure. In January, I met Miss Kaylee, who is diagnosed with Lewis D syndrome, which is a genetic disorder that mainly affects the connective tissue in the body. There are 5 genetic causes of Lewis D syndrome, and this genetic condition manifests itself in a number of ways. Therefore, no 2 individuals with Lewis D syndrome will have identical medical characteristics. Miss Kaylee is pursuing a double major in psychology and songwriting at Belmont University. She is dedicated to making the most of her time on this earth. She will do everything in her power to live the life that she chooses to live. She likes cooking, listening to music, singing, and playing musical instruments. Her journey highlights the profound connection between human resilience, medical advancements such as music therapy, and its medicinal effects on cognitive syndromes, as well as movement disorders, and the role of empathy in shaping a better world. Meeting Ms. Cayley made me ask myself this question: when life doesn't fit society's expectations, what does it mean to live a meaningful existence? Scientists are still trying to locate a genetic mutation that results in diprosopis, also known as craniofacial duplication. Children are born with two faces, side by side, with one head and one body. Diprosopis falls into a spectrum of heterogeneity, genotypically and phenotypically. Some babies' features include 3 eyes, 2 noses, 2 ears, 2 tongues, and a single neck and trunk. Other babies are born with duplicated vocal cords or vocal folds, mandible and maxilla, but without any cleft lip or palate. Whether a child is born with 3 eyes or 2 noses, embracing diversity helps foster empathy, unity, and understanding. Mr. Trace Johnson, born with diprosopis as the 3rd boy in his family, inspired me to not only explore the scientific aspects of his condition, but also the emotional strength and resilience that define his journey. Mr. Trace Johnson has a unique way of engaging with the world around him, actively seeking sensory input across multiple domains, including tactile, proprioceptive, oral, visual, and auditory. He enjoys feeling and chewing on flexible tools for tactile simulation. For him, joy comes alive in the simple yet profound act of stacking and throwing cubic toys, a testament to the beauty of sensory motor engagement. He finds comfort in listening to music, and he enjoys being in the company of others. Additionally, he is able to solve simple puzzles, demonstrating both sensory and cognitive engagement. Naturally, one might ask how Mr. Trace's actions serve as a way or as a form of communication. Well, Mr. Trace's actions express preferences, needs, and emotions that do not rely on verbal language, making them forms of non-linguistic communication. It is important to recognize that meaningful connection is not limited to speech alone. Mr. Trace has undergone multiple surgical interventions, and his mother continues to manage her child's health day by day. And also, she continues to prove the healing effects of medical cannabis. When Mr. Trace started taking medical cannabis, the number of epileptic seizures reduced significantly from 400 to 40 a day, a 90% reduction. Has not only shown cognitive progress, but also there was significant improvement in his muscle tone. This picture shows Mr. Trace with green leaves of medical cannabis in the background, a traditional herbal medicine used to treat specific neurological conditions. When I interviewed Miss Brandy, I asked her, how would you explain Mr. Trace's value to someone who struggles to see his contributions to the world? Her response, backed by practical evidence, highlighted how lessons learned since Trace's birth have saved lives. She emphasized that anyone who fails to recognize the value of someone different from themselves clearly lacks an understanding of how science and healthcare operate. In the end, despite the differences, one important aspect we all have in common is that we are human. We should accept the differences that make each of us special. We should expand our circle of empathy, not just to acknowledge the individuals who are living with rare diseases, but also to ensure they receive the funding necessary for research, treatments, and ultimately hope. Thank you.